Welcome to the third episode of Raising Rebeca Books, the birth of a publishing house. This is the audio story of me, Rebecca Seitz, building a traditional royalty-paying publishing house from the ground up, told to you as it unfolds. And heavens, has there been some unfolding already in this new year. Is your 2024 off to a fabulous start too? Because I am loving the energy and activity so far. But before I tell you the main reason that I'm so excited this week, I should probably tell you about how I ended 2023 with a pretty big oops.
You're listening to Raising Rebeca Books, the birth of a publishing house on the 1C Story Network. 1C is made possible in part by the support of the following sponsor.
Okay, let's start with the embarrassing part. I may have screwed up. Okay, not may. I did. I did. If you follow me on TikTok, then you know that I got a little ahead of my skis in thinking that I'd found the right printer partners for this venture. And how that happened is not fun to admit. In the last episode, I shared the interview questions that I posed to each printer to ensure our corporate values aligned. They were, do they have women in ownership or leadership? Are they LGBTQIA friendly? Do they responsibly source their materials? What about their shipping policies? Do they try to lessen their carbon footprint? And based on those answers, I believed that I'd found exactly the right two printers, one domestic and one foreign. I literally crossed the to-do item of find printers off my list. As boxes filled with samples of their work began to fill my office, I pushed them to the side and I focused on other to-do items. And then finally, just before the holiday break, I finished the last item on my list, pushed away from my desk, and turned. And that's when I saw all of the boxes that were scattered across my floor. Oh yeah, I thought I need to go through those samples that the printer sent. So I set up my phone to record an unboxing video for TikTok. This would be exciting, right? Printer samples, it's going to be amazing. Everybody's going to love this. And then I opened the boxes. Now, again, if you follow me on TikTok, you might be confused right now because no, you never did see that unboxing video. That would be because I deleted it. In one instance, the box contained products that were so dissimilar from what Rebeca Books will be printing that I wondered if maybe the wrong samples were sent to me. Another box, it had, like okay products, so-so products, but nothing was in there that wowed me. A cold panic began to set in. This was not what I had been expecting, not in the least. So I kept opening boxes all the way until the last one. And with that last one, I hit pay dirt. Inside this printer's box, I found a stack of books in the exact format, cover designs, and finishes, and even the paper choices that we intend. The quality was outstanding. Were I to use this printer, I would not have one single worry about the end result. I eagerly grabbed the notebook that stays to my right hand throughout the day. In that notebook is where I take notes on every phone call, every video meeting, everything that I do through the day. It is my brain. I flipped through and scanned the notes from my meeting with this particular printer's rep. And then I started over and I read them carefully. But it didn't matter how many times I looked. The information I sought was not there. Nothing about there being women in ownership, partial or otherwise, and only one reference to a woman in upper management across the entire company. My heart sank. Thankfully, my notes did include affirmation that this company practices eco-friendly, sustainable sourcing for their materials, and they are LGBTQIA welcoming and affirming. So I rewrote settle on printers on my to-do list. I have some homework to do before I can be truly settled on this. I have more questions to ask, more samples to request. And you know what? That's okay. Nothing about this company, remember, is being rushed or forced. Our first line of books isn't slated until spring of 2025. There is time to get the foundation laid, and that includes confidently partnering with the necessary vendors to make Rebeca Books operate like a well-oiled machine. So, now that I've confessed my misstep, can we get to the good part? Drum roll, please. We have a new acquisitions editor. On next week's episode, you will hear directly from the fantastic female from Atlanta, Danielle Butler. A passionate and award-winning writer herself, Danielle has long helped authors hone their works, championing storytelling across the nonprofit, arts, and education sectors. She's a connector, y'all, and not just because she has a master's in business management, but because she has a track record of connecting the dots between people, purpose, and community. The speakers she's worked with see an average increase in their annual revenue of $30,000. Are my business writers listening to me? Danielle and I share a driving interest in producing content that provokes change and inspires good action. She's worked on cannabis record expungement and raised awareness and funding to address food insecurity that is ravaging marginalized communities. She serves on the boards of Syneosis Inc. and Project Good Inc., and she's a volunteer with the Atlanta Fringe Festival for Kids Fringe. If you're a writer, you might have sat in on her workshops at any of many writers' conferences throughout the U.S., including the annual Women in Publishing Summit. I told you she was fantastic, didn't I? And now she's bringing her skills to Rebeca Books. How amazing is this? Danielle's primary work here is to identify and acquire business and romance titles written by and about women 40 and over. Now, we do not require agency representation for project consideration, so whether you are an agent or an author, feel free to reach out to Danielle directly. Her email address is in this episode's description. To see what elements should be included in your book proposal, just visit RebecaBooks.com and scroll down. Remember, there's only one C in my Rebecca. Oh, and one last thing about Danielle. She turns 40 this summer. Yep, we are welcoming this wonderful woman into our 40 and over fun, and that party is going to be epic. But, that's revelry for another day. Today, please join me in celebrating this incredible news for Rebeca Books. Oh my gosh, you're going to love her. Anyway, now one more thing that I wanted to share with you before I let you go, and that is a little bit of the backstory on how this house came to be named Rebeca Books and have an iris as its logo. When I set about naming the line, I first tried to find a word that means wise, mature woman. As would any woman in the year of our Lord 2023, I Googled words that mean wise, mature woman. And I got back words like prophetess, seer, soothsayer, diviner, fortune teller, oracle, mystic, which, are lovely words, but none of them were the right fit for a line of romance and business books written by and featuring women 40 and over. I mean, a 20-year-old could be any of those words. So I altered my search to words that mean older woman. And here's where I began to get a little annoyed. The results were dame, mother, grande dame, dowager, biddy, grandmother, lassie, damsel, frail, dudette, wench, aunt, auntie, and even phrases like member of the gentle sex and member of the fairer sex. So then I tried one more search, this time words that mean old woman. The results, you're going to love this. Pensioner, babushka, old dear, trouble and strife, matriarch, crone, hag, nag, wench, dusty miller. Looking at the words, I was struck by the realization that the only positive sounding words were the ones whose definitions included a family element. Grandmother, grandma. The ones that described an old woman outside of her family made her sound awful. Hag, nag, wench. I closed my laptop in frustration and I thought more about the problem at hand. It was time to call in reinforcements. I gathered my 2 teenagers and my husband and I put the problem to them. And for your listening pleasure, I then made them come here into the studio and recreate that conversation as close to verbatim as we could remember. Y'all help me! I need a name for the publishing house.
Okay. What have you come up with so far?
Nothing good. I need something that says wise, mature woman.
Wise Woman Books.
Sounds too much like wise guy. And the URL would probably be expensive.
What means wise in other languages for mature woman?
Nothing. I looked it up. The words either are awful, like hag, nag, shrew, that kind of thing, or they're based in our relationship to a male, grandmother, auntie, stuff like that. I couldn't find great words that let us stand on our own.
Matron?
Ew. No.
Why don't you just name it after yourself?
I mean, there is precedent. Simon & Schuster is named after its founders, HarperCollins.
So, Sites Books. Sites Limited. Sites Publishing.
Sites Limited.
Something like that.
No, like, the problem is that our last names are not always our last names.
What?
Like, I've had multiple last names. I haven't even had this
like when
last...
you get married and things.
Yeah, like I haven't even had this last name for half my life. Our last name changes if we get married or remarried or divorced or anything like that. There's a reason we do not... Women, we tend to not name our, companies our last name. It's different for women. It's just different.
That makes it difficult, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Patriarchy, my favorite flavor.
Yeah.
Well, never mind.
No, what?
I mean...
Wait.
You've always had that name, so Rebecca something? It's gotta be catchy.
Like Rebeca Books?
I like that.
Ooh, that's got a ring to it, doesn't it?
Okay, yeah, but is that arrogant?
I don't think
to
so.
name it after
I mean, there's like Simon & Schuster and all them. Were they arrogant for naming it after themselves? I mean...
Okay, no. Rebecca Books. Yeah, okay, Rebecca Books.
Okay. Dude, you could totally put that on a t-shirt and something would look great. Or, oh, I know. Becky Books.
Yeah, no, that'll be all. Thanks. So that's how Rebecca Books became the name. As for the iris in our logo, remember when I told you back in episode 1 that I grew up on a farm in Tennessee? My family worked that land for well over 200 years. I may be a Neapolitan happily enjoying the beauty of life in Naples, Florida now, but Tennessee has been my family's home too long for it to not always have a piece of my heart and mind. And guess what the Tennessee state flower is? Yup, it's an iris. And it just so happens that the name of the iris comes from Greek mythology. In that language, the word translates to rainbow. The flower is a representation of the goddess of the rainbow, who would send messages from heaven to earth on her ark. She was seen as a friendly companion to female souls who were on their way to heaven. What a lovely idea. The symbolism of the flower itself changes depending on the color, but its overarching meanings are wisdom, hope, and positive change, which are characteristics that I deeply desire to be emblematic of Rebeca Books. There is so much more that has kicked itself into gear already this year. Book projects about love in all its colorful and fabulous forms, as well as business journeys that inspire and educate. More team members to help get the word out and build this community of wise, wonderful women. Influencers and partners who are hearing about the work here and they're coming in the room with that magical question, how can I help? It's happening. Every single morning, I now wonder, what's going to happen today? And can I just tell you the answers keep making me grin? Well, I will, so long as you keep listening.
You've been listening to Raising Rebeca Books, the birth of a publishing house from the 1C Story Network. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts and learn more at RebecaBooks.com. That's REBECA books.com.
The 1C Story Network, for the love of stories.